Hey y'all, hi. So here's what's going on. I have this box of makeup that is all stuff that has come in PR recently. I've just been collecting things that I'm interested in trying on camera in this box. And I'm going to do a full face of makeup, mostly with stuff from this box. I might have to fill in the gaps here and there, but I think I have pretty much a full face in here, and I'm just gonna be like talking about the products as I go. Some of them I've been trying, so it's not a full face of first impressions, but some of them I haven't tried yet. We're just gonna see what happens. Most of the stuff is from E.L.F, which is really great. I always like to make sure I try some affordable stuff. I'm getting more into drugstore here on my channel in the last year, but it's not all from E.L.F. There's some other random stuff mixed in here too. I think it's going to be fun. If this is your first time to my channel, then welcome. I'm so glad you're here. I'm Hannah and I love beautiful things. I lean into quality over quantity of beautiful things in my life, and that definitely filters through here in the beauty content on my channel. If that sounds good to you, I hope you'll subscribe. Now let's go ahead and get into the meat of this video. All right, what is even in here? I have to sort of make a plan because there might be a couple of repeat products. Like I think I have 2 concealers. This is something that I haven't opened yet. It's the E.L.F. Poreless Putty Primer. I have tried the Tatcha one. That is the original product that this I think is like a dupe of. A long time ago I had a little sample size of it and I do remember liking it, but it's been a long time since I had an interest in pore filling primers, mattifying primers, anything except for wearing literally like a full face of liquid highlighter instead of a primer. It is kind of satisfying. Oh yeah, that is very satisfying. I have a little bit of green color corrector on my face. My face was so red and my blemishes were so red that I just put a little bit on before coming on camera, but that's it. It's moisturizer and green color corrector. Let's see how this goes. Okay, I just put it on one half of my face. I put it all over this half of my face. It interfered somewhat with the green color corrector, but that's to be expected. So ignore that if this side just suddenly looks redder. It's just because I was just rubbing product on it. The tactile experience was much more pleasant than I was expecting. I think that I'm really suspicious of the label putty. I'm like, how can you not screw the pooch if you try to create a putty product? But it went on really melty, silky, a much better physical dupe for the Tatcha Silk Canvas than I was expecting it to be. But in terms of finish, well, actually that second application, when I went in and like layered a little bit under my eyes, which is where my pores are the most visible, there with that second application, it looks more blurring. Like now I feel like I can understand the claims of it being a pore filling primer. The pores on this side look more filled than the pores on this side, which look like they're just standing out a little bit more with the slight dewiness of my moisturized skin, but just a little bit. I feel like it's not that pore filling. It's not like a super blurring. It's not one of those like silicone-y things that just like fills your pores up and spackles them over and makes your skin look really smooth, but then is like super prone to pilling and not that pleasant, you know, like Benefit Porefessional, that kind of thing. It's not really doing that to my skin, which is good because as you can probably tell by my description, I'm not that into that kind of primer. I mean, I'm not into it at all. It's this second layer that is really, I feel like, bringing out the performance in this product. All right, I'm gonna put it on the other side of my face as well. Okay, E.L.F., I'm realizing applying this that I had really low expectations for this product. It's much more buildable than I expected it to be. It's much silkier and meltier than I expected it to be. It actually feels kind of nourishing in its own way. I am really curious now about the green salicylic acid version of this. They just came out with like an acne fighting version of this, and I was sort of loosely interested in it simply because it was green, but I wasn't that interested in any version of the Putty Primer. Now that I've tried the original universal one and I'm actually feeling like the formula is quite elegant, I'm more motivated than ever to try the green one. And I'm also kind of interested in the luminous one because when I saw that there was a luminous version of this, I was like, how can that be? Because it kind of seems like a contradiction in terms to have something that's in a putty format like this, but that's really glowy. But now that I feel how it melts, I don't think that it's a contradiction in terms. I feel like it's almost already kind of glowy, and something like this that's intended to be luminous is probably really beautiful. Man, E.L.F. is like the quintessential hit or miss brand, I feel. E.L.F. and Glossier. Wow, wow, wow. I feel like my skin even looks and feels moisturized. I know that this product has been on the market for a while, and I feel like it's already a cult classic, and so like I'm the literal last to the party, but I'm impressed. All right, let's move on to the other putty product that I have, which I also haven't tried yet. It's the Putty Eye Primer. And I was equally skeptical of this. I've never really been like a paint pot person. I've never owned a MAC paint pot. I tend to use eye primers in tubes. I tend not to use these like pot format eye primers. I actually don't know if I've ever had or even tried one. But if the performance is anywhere near the performance of the face primer, I might really love it. It's in the shade Rose. Oh, the texture is really different from the face primer. It's much stiffer. TBH, I was expecting it to be, oh no, it's a little bit more rose colored on my hand than it looks in the pot. This is more what I was expecting it to be. It's also very melty and becoming very silky. I actually do have some unusual texture on this lid right now. I ruptured a little bit of the top layer of my skin when I was using a waxing strip to remove the baby hairs from underneath my brows a couple of nights ago. I'm putting this primer to the test and it's doing a pretty good job of covering it up. Most importantly to me though will be the question of whether it sets and also of like the color. I actually kind of like the color. It's a slightly rosy neutral that's just slightly darker than my skin. So I feel like it's giving my eyes a little bit of depth. This is the kind of thing I would wear on its own. I'd like wear it as an eye shadow, or I would wear it just to kind of darken my lids and give them a little bit of, just a little sultriness and a little shape. It feels like it's setting not only on my eyes, but like on the back of my hand. Okay, let's leave that. What I really want to know is if it sets and doesn't crease by itself, because I love the way that this looks by itself. I feel like this has always been kind of a unicorn for me, like a cream textured eyeshadow that I can kind of put all over my lids that adds a little bit of depth like this. There are so many things like this on the market, like so many shadow sticks and liquid eyeshadows that are supposed to do this. And they usually do come in like at least one shade of pale nude rose or like pale neutral that seems like it would do this for me. And then I struggle always when I try things like that to get them to blend out seamlessly. And I find that they crease and it's just like my lids would have looked better that day if I had just left them bare kind of. But this is the dream. Yeah, let's see how it looks towards the end of the video, because sometimes I just like click for 2 seconds on each of my like last 10 videos in a row, just to like see how the makeup looks are sitting with me once I get some distance. And I did that recently and I felt like there was one of all the looks that I liked so much better than any of the other looks. And it was that one where I did a really strong lip, which I don't know if I'll be able to do today because I don't think I have a strong lip. It was like a strong red lip. And everything else was really neutral and soft, and like it was like glowy, sort of washed out skin with a light glossy blush look, and eyes kind of like this, but I'd used like a blushy bronzer to get them, and mascara, and then this strong red lip. I just feel like I looked 10 times better in that video than in any of my past videos. So I'm inspired by one version of my past self to continue doing simpler makeup everywhere except for the lip. We'll see if that works out today given what I have here. But a lot of what I have is complexion. So I do feel like I can go through many of these things and like talk about them and still end up with a pretty light look. Let's actually move on to brows because there's something really interesting in here that I've been using. This is also from E.L.F. It's like soap brows in a stick, but it's a wax. I've just found it relatively effective because of how I can like press down to laminate my brows as I'm applying it. I've always been skeptical of things like this, that they wouldn't last very long, that it wouldn't be good. Like Fenty came out with a product like this and it got great reviews. And I considered trying it, but then I was just like, I know what would happen with a thing like that. I would go through it super fast. Could use a ton of product and it's such a small amount of product, a little stick like this. So buying like an $18 one or something from Fenty and then going through it in a couple of weeks, that's not really my jam. But you know, this is probably just a couple of dollars. So it makes the idea of something like this like sit better with me. And it's been fun to try it out. I've been wearing it every day and I've actually quite liked it. Although every time I do this, some hairs come out. I can't tell if that's just normal, like if it's normal to lose a couple of brow hairs and this is just happening to like pick them up, or if this, it doesn't seem like it would be stiff enough to like pull brow hairs out. It just concerns me a little bit to see those brow hairs like ending up on this stick, but it hasn't deterred me from using it. So my brows are dyed right now. They're dyed a pretty dark color. I dye them myself at home, so I don't feel like I need to fill them in. And what I've been doing, because I also am trying this clear brow and lash mascara from E.L.F. and I find that on its own, it doesn't provide much hold. Like it's too, when I first put it in, it's just like my brows just go right back to their normal shape. But with a product like this, a brow gel that doesn't provide enough hold for me, I find that if I mix it with a soap or a wax or something, sometimes together they do what I want them to, and it can end up even looking a little more natural than just one or the other. So I've been using the spoolie that's coated with this gel to position my brows after I've filled them with the wax from the pen. This is what I've been doing the past couple of days. And then I feel like I'm getting the hold of the wax, but without that like completely laminated, stuck to the skin look of soap brows. And I've kind of been enjoying that. But for me, the moral of the story is that when my brows are freshly dyed, I can use basically anything to shape them and I'm gonna like how it looks. Like I always like how this looks way better than I like how it looks when I have like filled my brows in with some kind of brow pencil. My bangs are just starting to get long enough that I really have to curtain them like this to keep them like out of my eyes. But I'm not mad at it. After all that about not laminating them to my skin, I'm just gently pressing them into my skin to get them to be even more secure. Okay, let's move into complexion. I have a couple of concealers from E.L.F. that I've always wanted to try. I also have this Hourglass concealer. Where is it? Aha. I expressed interest in this when it was first released, but you know, what I said then is true of all three of these concealers. Like I don't need to try new stuff when I have concealers that work beautifully for me. I love mixing the Erin's Faces one with the Makeup Forever one and then using the NARS one to spot conceal. It works perfectly for me every time. So, you know, just as a regular consumer, there's no need to branch out here. But when they're free for review, it's really fun. And I'm gonna swatch them all out for you so you can kind of get a sense of the color, because that's one of the things that concerns me the most about concealer, because I have relatively pale skin and often concealer ranges don't go light enough for me, especially drugstore concealer ranges. So these are the three that I'm testing. The one from Hourglass is the one that's really pale there and a little bit more yellow toned and even a little bit more neutral. Just on site, that's much more my color. It's the lightest shade of the Hourglass Vanish concealer and it's in the shade Birch. I think that that is probably, let me swatch it next to my, yeah, actually it's a little bit grayer, like it's a little bit more neutral than my Makeup Forever, which is like the perfect brightening concealer on me. Color-wise, I actually prefer the Hourglass. I think that that's possibly the best liquid concealer color for me that I've ever seen. The Makeup Forever Ultra HD in the shade Pearl is underneath there. And the Vanish concealer from Hourglass is the one closest to my thumb. Then underneath the Hourglass one, the one in the middle, that big wet looking swatch, that is the E.L.F. Hydrating Camo Concealer in the shade Fair Warm. I think their lightest shade is the very, very fair and very, very cool toned one. And this is the very, very fair and warm toned one. But when I looked at the swatches online, the Fair Cool Camo concealer looked visually much lighter than the Fair Warm. This looks too dark for me, and as it dries down, it's looking even darker and more orange. Like I don't even think I want to put that on my face, which is too bad because I would have loved to test this. This last swatch, however, the one, it's already drying and you can see that it's a much thinner formula, much more lightweight and ever so slightly luminous. This is the E.L.F. Flawless Brightening Concealer. I think that this is supposed to be a dupe for YSL Touche Eclat, which is actually a product that I really like. I've gone through a whole tube of Touche Eclat and a whole tube of the Touche Eclat Full Coverage Concealer, which is a newer product, and both of them are beautiful. They recently added lightest shades to both of those ranges, and the lightest shades work for me and they're really beautiful. So I'm kind of excited to see this because I like the idea of a more lightweight and luminous concealer, especially for my under eye area. Actually, I think the first thing I'm going to do is just put this on and tap it out and see how it goes. I did throw it on the other day, but I didn't pay all that much attention to how it looked and how it went. Now the packaging really feels like a cheapy peepy version of the YSL Touche Eclat. The formula feels nice. Yeah, I feel like it's added like a slightly luminous, semi-sheer haze of brightness over the redness underneath my eyes. And I like that because now I feel like I don't have to put anything else there. So I don't want to take any of like my color corrector, my more full coverage concealer products, my spot concealer, anything into those areas. And I feel like now they're done. And also, even though it's slightly luminous, it's not so glossy that it makes me want to set it. This is what I always liked about the Touche Eclat as well. But I have to deal with the rest of what's on my face. And I think I'm going to try mixing the Hourglass with a bit of, this is a really full coverage. It's like much less skin-like than my Ultra HD, my Makeup Forever. And so I'm nervous about that. So I'm going to mix it with a bit of green color corrector. And I'm also going to mix it with some of this BB cream that I've still been really enjoying, the one from Purito, to make it more lotiony, more natural for me. I have tested the Hourglass product a couple of times, and I get the sense that it's probably a really great under eye concealer for people who need to cover a lot of intense darkness in their under eyes or wish to cover a lot of intense like shadow and discoloration on the under eye. I haven't had as much success with it on its own as like a full face concealer or even a spot concealer because the coverage is really intense. It's just thicker. And so it doesn't melt into my skin as well as the other base products that I usually use. It's like it's creamy, but it's just not as skin-like as one would wish or as one little Hannah would wish. It's working great as a mix-in here though. Oh, I totally forgot that I wetted this sponge. I never use sponges anymore, but this sponge is from E.L.F. It's supposed to go with a camo concealer, but I'm not going to test that today. But I like got it all prepped for the video, so I'm just going to use it. Oh my gosh, it's been forever since I used a sponge. I'm just using it to press the product into my skin. Wow, the sponge actually melted the mixture that I had created right into my skin. It makes it look really seamless on the sides of the face, but it kind of removed the under eye stuff that I had going on. I'm gonna have to reapply that. It's almost like it's too lightweight for the use of a sponge. Yeah, the sponge is picking this, whatever this is, the Flawless Brightening Concealer, it's picking it right up. So this is really like a super lightweight product, and I would definitely recommend using one's fingers with this instead of using a sponge. There might still be some residual on my face, but it's made it very, very subtle, the sponge. I'm pleased with the way the rest of my skin is looking though. I'm going to do just a little bit of spot concealing on these blemishes. Toning down the redness on the rest of my skin and evening out the skin tone on the rest of my skin has really highlighted the beauty of this like simple putty colored putty eye. I am feeling so enthusiastic, so optimistic about this product that I have on my eyes. It reminds me of, you know how some people have pigmented lids like to begin with? Like they just have kind of this color, it's what their lids look like naturally. I think that that's so sexy and I'm always envious of it when I see it. And I feel like this product has given me that look. Like it's given me sort of like a version of that look. And it's even relatively natural looking texture wise. Like it's kind of melted into my skin. Even though on this side, because of that slight rupture of my skin that's healing, it's a little bit uneven. It still looks fine. And I think that I'm just gonna leave this as my entire eye look for the day. But I am going to put some of it underneath. I'm gonna experiment with like applying it underneath my lash line, kind of like an eyeshadow. I'm just gonna see how that goes. I really did not expect to love this. I think one of the things about this though is that it probably dries out really quickly. It's already kind of like shrinking in its pot and cracking. You can see how it's like separated around the edges. This is brand new and it's not as though it's dried out such that I can't use it. Obviously I'm using it. But I bet that if I forget to like put the lid on one night or I forget to put it on tightly, I bet it would like dry out so quickly that you wouldn't be able to use it. So that's like something to keep an eye on. It does feel like the surface is a little set, and I was kind of breaking through it, a little bit of like creme brulee vibes when I was digging a little bit out to use. But then once I dug into it, it was very creamy. Yeah, oh my goodness. E.L.F. is like, we've created a Putty Eye Primer. And I'm like, no, you haven't. You've created my dream cream shadow. I was about to just say that I don't have a new mascara to try, and so I'm just using an old one, which is true. But I actually have this eyeliner I wanted to put on. Maybe it's not too late to put it on my waterline, but I am gonna wait for my lashes to dry, that coat of lashes to dry a little bit. It's from NYX. It's just like an olive colored eyeliner, which I'm really jazzed about because my eyeliner collection is pretty small, and I've really been wishing for like something in a dusky green. It's the NYX Epic Wear Liner Stick in the shade All Time Olive. I'm just gonna smudge it on my lower lash line, like in my waterline. I feel like it enhances the eye shape a little bit, makes it look a little less weird to have mascara on my lower lashes than it does when I have a blank waterline, but this dusky olive doesn't compete too much with the overall nudity of the look. Just checking in with my brows, they're looking a little bit, just a little bit like they've lost their initial shape. It's like it's not as though the gel and wax mixture held them glued in place the way that soap does, but they still are respectably shaped for me, for like a natural shape for the day. I just love how easy that wax stick is to use, but it's definitely not giving me the full-on hold of soap brows. Okay, it's the moment that I've been dreading because this is the third Putty product and I have tried it and it didn't go well. It's the E.L.F. Putty Blush. It's in the shade, I think it's in the shade Bora Bora. I don't have the packaging anymore, but I think it's in the shade Bora Bora. I was so hoping that they would just be calling it putty, but that in reality it would be the same texture as the creams in the Workout Ready Lip and Cheek palette from E.L.F. But it's not. It's a really pretty color. When I applied it before, I'm gonna try it in a different way this time, but when I applied it before, it sort of like stuck in my pores. It became very matte. It just didn't give me that like smooth, satiny, healthy, sunburny cheek that I want, especially from a color like this. Maybe I should mix it with a highlighter or something, but I'm gonna try to give you a sense of what went wrong before. Yeah, so I'm buffing it out on my hand right here, and it's just very dry. It's instantly becoming really dry. It feels creamy and melty to begin with. Like this part of it where there's a big lump of it feels like melted chocolate. Like it's really lovely, just like the primer and the eye putty. But then buffing it out really thin like you do with a cheek, you know what I mean? It becomes almost papery, almost powdery dry. And it sticks in the hair follicles. I hope you can see that. See the little dark dots? Like everywhere I have a hair follicle, there's like a little filled dot. So I wonder if mixing it, I'm gonna mix it with, this is another new product to me, the Lisa Eldridge Seamless Skin Elevated Glow, but it was a self-sponsored review. This didn't come in PR. Maybe mixing it with this will like make it perfect. Oh my gosh, it is a really pretty color. I've only been using the Elevated Glow from Lisa Eldridge as a base product. I haven't applied it like as a highlighter on top of makeup yet, which I think might actually be more what it's supposed to be used for. So this will be interesting. I'm gonna do it with a brush. I am a brush blush kind of bee. Okay, I mean, this is going beautifully, like, let's just state the obvious. Like it's probably in large part because of the mix-in, but it is nice to know that the Putty Blush plays well with others, and that if you really love a color, like I do really love this color, there's definitely a way to get it to work. I bet that this would do the same thing, like blend beautifully with the Charlotte Tilbury Spotlight Wand, Beauty Spotlight Wand, with the cream highlighter from the E.L.F. Lip and Cheek palette, or any other kind of like soft cream highlight. Just anything that's melty and liquidy. I'm tempted to keep going because this is like my dream cheek. Like I love it. I love it when the cheek has this really glossy, sunburny look. But I'm remembering that when I peeped myself in that past video, what I loved about it was the very light, glowy, washed out makeup and the strong lip. So I'm gonna just leave it there. I'm relieved. I was worried, especially because I liked how it was going. I was worried that trying to put this cream blush on would like mess everything up because I was worried it was gonna end up looking like this. But mixing it in and applying it with a brush saved it. I will follow my future career with this blush with great interest. I'm curious to know whether I'll end up reaching for it for that sunburny look and just mixing it in with stuff, or whether the fussiness will be too much for me and I'll end up giving it away. I'll definitely report back at some point. I'm gonna put my mole back on with this e.l.f. No Budge retractable eyeliner. I much prefer eyeliners that you sharpen to these retractable eyeliners. I almost never have good luck with retractable eyeliners, but the formula of this one seems perfectly fine. Here is something else that I've been testing that I'm actually pretty excited about. It's a Lancome product, the Le Lip Liner in the shade Natural Mauve. And I like it because it has this brush on the end, because I love to apply a lip liner outside of my lip line and then blur it, like blend it into my skin. And the fact that this comes with a brush that's designed for that makes me feel like the formula is probably specifically designed for that. I just want to start with kind of dry lips, so I'm taking off a little bit of lip balm that was there. So I like the brush and the formula, but the other thing that I like about this is that for me, it's the exact color of my lips. It's not even my lips, but better. It's just like my lips, my lips, but in a crayon. So it's really good for overlining. But I kind of want a bit of a stronger lip today. I know I can't do like the strong red because I don't have anything in that color that I've been testing. But I think what I'm gonna do is fill my lips in with this, overline and fill in with this kind of as strongly as I can to get it to be as statement as I can. And then I'm gonna top it with this e.l.f. gloss, which I've been trying and I actually really like. Like it's one of my favorite things from this box that I've tested so far. But I'll tell you about that when I put it on. First, I'm gonna put this on. So I basically overlined a good bit. I mean, I didn't like draw onto my skin, but I brought it to like the outside rim of the edge of my lips, mostly in the middle, on the bottom and the top. And then I filled it in. I'm wearing this lip liner basically as a lipstick, which is something that I love to do. However, it is kind of like a soft and a little bit sticky formula. You can feel that it's not really supposed to be a lipstick. It's designed to be a really long-lasting lip liner and not something that feels good to have just like as one layer on the lips. It is good as a base though for a gloss. And that brings me to this e.l.f. lip lacquer. It's like a super cheapy peepy lip product. I just feel like if I were shopping for e.l.f. like at the store or if I were shopping online, I would see this and maybe like not think twice about it. I think it's just like $2 or $3 and I might overlook it and, you know, look for something that seems a little bit more glamorous in its marketing. This is just their basic gloss. But I think that of all of these things I've been testing, it's the thing that I've worn the most. It is pretty simple, but it's just, there's nothing about it that's inconvenient. It's got a nice thickness without being too thick. It's got a nice slippiness without being sticky. I really like the color. It's not just a plain clear gloss, but it is very, very neutral for me. And it's got a little bit of shimmer, but without being like uber glittery. I mean, it's just like perfectly balanced. And I'm really excited that I'm testing it out because I think it's going to become one of my favorites. This gloss is something that I would like give as a gift. Like, even though it's just a couple dollars, I would be like, I bought this for you. I would be like proud to give it. Or if I was like at Target with my sister, or like my cousins, I would just grab it from the e.l.f. section and be like, get this, it's only $2, you won't regret it. This, however, is such a like beauty guru full glam lip, this like layered lipstick with, or lip liner with gloss that I like can't with myself. I have to blot it a little bit. Yeah, I feel like that it pressed it into my skin a little more, pressed it into my like lip skin, pressed the product in a little more tone down the glossiness, tone down the color a little bit. I'm just gonna pop on a tiny bit more of this. I'm putting it onto my finger and then onto my lips because I can't stand it when color from a lipstick gets into a lip gloss tube or like gets on the wand. I mean, I can stand it, but it's not ideal. I'm trying to prevent that from happening. I just feel like the gloss, it has a satin quality both in the way that it looks and kind of in the way that it feels. It just feels satiny. Okay, that's it. I feel like I've been filming for over an hour and the look looks like it just took 10 minutes. I'm not mad at it though. I'm actually very pleased with it. And I'm relieved that none of these products, even the ones that I was a little bit nervous about, none of them came along and just like completely messed up what I was doing. This is the kind of look that I love to wear to go about my day, to film videos, really for anything. I feel comfortable. I really feel like myself. And that's really fun to have happen with products that are either brand new to me that I've never tried before or with things that I've only been testing for a couple of days. Should we do that thing, that like quick recap of every single product that people do at the end of videos? When I'm watching trying new makeup videos, I love it when people do that. So I'm gonna do it now. Okay, I think I have everything. The E.L.F. Poreless Putty Primer. This was my first impressions, but I was very impressed. I will follow its future career in my life with great interest. I was expecting to try it today and then never want to use it again, but I definitely want to use it again. I think that there's a chance that it might go into rotation. So I'll make sure to circle back on that one. The E.L.F. Putty Eye Primer, I honestly can't wait to wear it tomorrow. Like I cannot wait to wear it like every day. My only concern is that it'll dry up really quickly. The eyebrow products. So I found that the clear brow and lash mascara doesn't provide enough hold for my wiry brows, but it is a very pretty little tube, and the spoolie with a little bit of product on it I feel like did contribute to the hold that I had established with the E.L.F. Shape and Stay Brow Pencil, which is a wax. It's like a wax crayon. Also doesn't work as well as soap brows to hold my brows. Very few things will hold my brows in place. The E.L.F. Hydrating Camo Concealer, the shade Fair Warm, is too dark for me, especially when it was drying down on my hand. It seemed like it was oxidizing a little bit and it was way too dark for me. The Hourglass Vanish Concealer is a beautiful shade, like a beautiful shade for me. However, I feel like this is probably ideal, the formula, for color correcting one's under eyes. I don't really need concealer for that purpose. I use it mostly, you know, to cover blemishes, and this is a little bit thick for that. So it remains to be seen how well this actually integrates itself into my collection, into daily use. I'm excited about using the E.L.F. Flawless Brightening Concealer more though, because it's like that thin, luminous formula. The Putty Blush, I feel like the jury's a little bit still out because I had a really bad experience applying it the first time, and I feel like I had a really good experience applying it this time. So this is one that I'll make sure to mention again in a future video. I do really like this NYX Epic Wear Liner Stick. I mean, I haven't gotten to like put it to the test in terms of how long wear it is, but the color's beautiful and the application was seamless. I love the Lancome lip liner. I love it. And this E.L.F. lip lacquer is possibly my favorite thing out of everything that I tried in this video. So it went well. It was fun. If you already have a robust makeup collection, if you already have a lot of makeup, I hope that you'll take any inspiration that you might have gotten from this video and redirect it to your collection. Like, look at the makeup that you already own and try to use it to do what I did today, or think about what you have that you might be able to use instead of buying something new. It's always fun to be able to try new makeup in my capacity as an online reviewer, but I don't want it to make you want to go out and buy a bunch more makeup if you already own a bunch of makeup. If you don't have a big makeup collection, or if you don't have any makeup or barely have any makeup, and you are trying to decide what to get, or you're thinking about getting something new, then hopefully some of these reviews and impressions were helpful to you, especially because it was like straddling high-end and drugstore. Most of all, I hope that you, well, no, second to most of all, in addition to all of that stuff, I hope that you enjoyed watching this today. And more than any of that, I hope you're taking extra good care of yourself, because that's what will make you the most effective version of yourself as you do your work in the world.